The gods are dead, and the sun simply refuses to set. The Dredge, the giant armored-clad ancient enemies of the Varl, are sweeping across the land, killing anyone and anything that come into their path. It is rumored that the world is coming to an end. The gods are... At its core, the Banner Saga is an RPG, but contains adventure elements and real-time strategy combat on a grid system. It's set in a beautiful, hand-drawn and animated Viking-inspired world with a soundtrack by Austin Wintory to match it. Before going into specifics about the game's inner workings, the Banner Saga is a stunningly gorgeous game through and through, and it's setting the bar high for everyone else who has to follow in 2014. Sometimes being the leader isn't all it's cracked up to be. If the Banner Saga is an allegory, that is most certainly its lesson. As the player, your role is to lead, and not just on the battlefield. You are responsible for an entire caravan of people, and you need to make sure they have enough food to eat. They're protected by a large enough army, and you also need to deal with their occasional petty squabbles. As the caravan marches, text cues pop up on screen presenting a crisis or opportunity. Your decision could result in a boon or loss of supplies, soldiers, followers, or special items. Since there is no option to quickly load previous saves, your decisions are permanent and can have a massive effect on your journey. Considering this is only the first of 3 parts planned for the Banner Saga, a good playthrough of the adventure will be desirable to enter into Part 2. Stopping in towns, players can spend some renown points to level up their characters, buy food or special items, or spend food and time to improve the caravan's morale. Renown points, the game's one and only currency, are earned through victory in battle or good decision-making skills in the field. Combat is entirely story-driven. Players cannot seek out enemies to fight, therefore farming experience to buy a near infinite amount of skill levels and food is impossible. Once combat is initiated, players select their heroes and position them on the battlefield. The battles themselves are turn-based, and turns are not governed by dexterity or speed levels like they are in other RPGs. Fighters on the battlefield come in 2 sizes, human and giant. Varl, the half-human, half-animal species, always take up 4 grids, while humans simply take up 1. The enemy Dredge come in both sizes, but their size is class-dependent. While the Varl are all melee fighters, humans have a little more diversity in their ranks, and can be ranged fighters with bows and a little bit of magic. Each character has 3 stats to consider: strength, armor, and willpower. Willpower is a small pool of reserve points that can be used on command to dole out extra damage or move a bit further during a character's move turn. Armor reduces or sometimes outright deflects damage. This stat needs to be whittled down in order to truly damage strength. Strength is also a character's hit points. The lower the hit points remaining, the less damage that character can deal out. We love this tidbit and hope it gets picked up by more RPGs. There is strategy in how you move your units. For example, players can create bulwarks out of their giants with pathways only small enough for humans to sneak through. But on the downside, while we loved the diversity in human classes, magic takes a massive backseat, and we hope to see it have a stronger presence in the second chapter. Also, the battlefields are mostly the same, except for the background art. Topography and structures like trees or walls for characters to hide behind don't come into play, making this a huge missed opportunity. Before starting the Banner Saga, players should brace themselves for the amount of text they'll be reading, because it's a lot. That's not a complaint from us. In fact, we loved the branching and very detailed progression of the game, and we didn't realize how much we missed text-based RPGs. There's nothing more immersive than a player's own imagination, and the Banner Saga feeds on that. The problem we have with the text is that while the game shows the large, hand-drawn characters talking to each other, the text only appears on the bottom 10th of the screen instead of at a more comfortable level, like the entire bottom third of the screen, or perhaps in a speech bubble at the 2/3 mark. The story has us absolutely hooked. Continually running from one tragedy to the next, by the end we felt exhausted, like we ourselves had been marching for days. Our first playtime with the Banner Saga took us 7.5 hours, but we lost dozens of followers to starvation and poor decisions, and our heroes felt underpowered. The game begs to be replayed. In many ways, the Banner Saga is a lot like the classic video game Oregon Trail, crossbred with Final Fantasy Tactics, and there's a few hidden moments where the developers recognize that fact and sneak out an Easter egg or two. No doubt in time gamers will develop perfect walkthrough strategies where the correct answers to all situations will be revealed, but we feel that will defeat the purpose of the game. The Banner Saga's beauty, aside from its art and music, lies in forcing the player to deal with their consequences as so few games do. Considering how long the journey is, players are very unlikely to simply restart their campaign if they make a few shoddy decisions along the line. The Banner Saga is a gorgeous game, and though it's still incredibly early, it will be surprising if it doesn't go home with one accolade or another in a year's time. We wish there was a little more variety in the combat, both in the battlefield terrain and in the diversity of the units. But in the end, the game excels in many ways. It's the type of experience that leaves you thinking about it long after completion. The ending left us both wanting more and wondering what we could have done differently.